Heirs to Heresy, Part 12. As is the custom, every 4 sessions, our Templars receive a gift. And let's find out what those are, because I actually don't know. Uh, Jazzy, tell us what you grabbed for Elias.
Spiritual strength. Your faith is your guiding pole star. You recover 2 fate points whenever you recover a fate point rather than just one.
Oh, that's extremely useful for your build. Nice. Right on. Estevat, what about you?
Going with Scholar. If you spend a faith point to reroll a history, religion, or travel test, you gain advantage on the roll or on the reroll. You're
Hmm.
educated, learned in the ways of philosophy, history, and the sciences.
That is incredible. Sucks that you can't use it. But oh wait, what's this? No, I'm gonna make a home rule right now. I'm gonna say every Templar has a minimum of 1 faith point always, and we're gonna just go with that. I've thought about it, and I'm like, no, Estevao deserves a faith point. He deserves one.
I mean, I'm
Um,
willing to spend the experience to get Faith 1 right now.
no, I like the rule that everyone should have a baseline of one. I feel like we've played enough now where I'm just like,
Okay.
I think it would make sense for every Templar to have a base one. So I think no, it'd be more interesting. You can spend those points wherever you want to put them once we get in advance or time to like improve yourself.
Is it
So
a base one or an extra one for
no
me and
base,
Torben
no,
as
no, no, no,
well?
no, no. You don't go up by one. I think as a home rule, it makes more sense. Every Templar has a minimum of 1 faith point. Because you're all Templars. That entails a degree of commitment to the bit. So yes, I want you to use these abilities, and I want Estevan to do cool shit because it's been long enough. Um, cool, Scholar makes sense. And Ben, what about Torben?
Torben is going with, just keeping it straightforward, going with strength at arms. Your strength and righteous fury fuel your strikes, making you a fierce foe to face. I double my might when calculating melee damage.
Oh damn! So now that what
Now,
gives you
damage die plus 9.
Jesus? That's very nice. Good build. Right on. So it's been a couple weeks. Just to recap where we left off, um, returning with Annalise to one of the villages, specifically the one that was home to the priest you all found, the one that had been afflicted with the werewolf curse. You were welcomed by the community, who were grateful. You did not have any suspicion at your back for that. You got some training from Annalise, did some conversations with each other. You also learned a bit more of what was happening with this particular priest, and ultimately decided to just pass on, move, leave back on your quest, and putting the village in the hinds in your I was gonna say rear view mirrors, but we're not driving, and leaving in the road behind you. And this is where we're going to resume. As was mentioned a while ago, from the city of Bordeaux, it was roughly a week to reach the border of Navarre. You've been a little sidetracked in the forests and this nearby villages with the wolf cairn and stalking beast. But am I correct in assuming that you are resuming the path to Navarre?
Mhm. Sounds right.
The way I'd like to handle this, at least for now, just given the region being predominantly full of these rolling farmlands and plains and various country roads, a couple of trade thoroughfares, but it is easy enough. I would like to just resolve the travel to the border with a travel test as opposed to exploring. Um, it's been a minute since we did a travel test. So just as a reminder, this just covers the provisioning, like, oh, it supplies for to last you the week. Um, and sort of being able to know like expected distance between your stops, as well as just keeping time in mind. Um, one of you will do travel plus intellect. I figure this will be Esteval, but I will pose it to the group. And as long as you succeed, you'll have enough supplies for the week.
I'm plenty willing to make the test, especially with this new ability.
Indeed, I was about to say that dovetails very nicely with yours, so you get to take advantage on it.
If I re-roll, and
If you
spend a fate
reroll,
point.
that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll just go ahead and do 2d10. Right, this is a d10 game.
Yes, it is.
Plus 4 plus 1, so plus 5 total. It's a 19 total.
Yeah, I didn't say the difficulty, but that is higher than what it would have been. So you have enough food for the week, and the remaining days that take you out of the woodlands into the farms, which steadily become foothills, ascending towards the more mountainous terrain that borders this part of the continent with the Iberian Peninsula. Now, the more toward the east, where the mountains are much, much taller, luckily, as you're walking to Navarre, your chosen course is not going through that territory, but they are going to be mountains nonetheless. But the remaining days on this lead up pass by relatively uneventfully, aside from sort of inclement weather, given now that we are moving into November. The days are becoming more chill. The forests that you leave behind and the occasional copse of trees are now thoroughly changing colors, orange, reds, occasionally purples, and the sort of gloam of this time of year sets in full. It becomes more damp, but approaching the Iberian Peninsula, the weather, while chill, becomes slightly drier. We're going to do just one downtime for this week, based on you camp and there are days you have conversations, do your own things, but mechanically we'll just do one. And I want to get this resolved before I check in on any narrative that might come up as a result of your traveling. You are safe, so yes, and you also will hit a Sunday during this time period, so you get the benefits of the usual faith point on a Sunday. Given that you're in the wilderness, your actions for downtime, as a reminder, you can conceal your trail to reduce pursuit points. You can pray. You can recover health. None of you have gear to repair, so you don't need to worry about that. Or you can train for advantage. So on one of these nights, moving through countryside, occasionally seeking shelter from a drizzle, or getting a small way stop at a middle of nowhere crossroads building. You have time to sort of like lay low, plan for the days ahead. Elias, what is your downtime action?
Since we're gonna hit a Sunday, I don't need to pray. I think I'll recover some health because I'm still only at 8.
Makes sense. Go ahead and roll 2d3.
Let me find the witch dice. Here we go. D3. That is a total of 4.
Very good. Esteval, what will you be doing?
I will train craft.
Makes sense. And Torben?
I'm going to train for that advantage.
Very good. It's largely uneventful, the walk to Navarre, or rather the walk to the mountains they'll have to cross before reaching Navarre. At the way stop, travelers in, there are scant few people caravanning this time of year, but no one pays you any mind. No one really seems to care, at least in this corner of the world. Who's to say what awaits you on the other side of those mountains? But there are travelers from Navarre. You can overhear their conversation, maybe even talk to them directly. But there is an uncertainty that hangs in the air. One of these evenings, you hear one of the travelers from who had passed through Navarre coming up through the mountains here into English France talking about how land near the borders has been unsettling, and they're very happy to be on the northern face of the mountains just because many towns and villages have a shadow hanging over them for reasons they don't really know how to explain. They tell almost ghost like stories in the firelight about how the people there seem to behave bizarrely, or that at night they heard a distant wailing from the foothills and cliffs, and that they're very, very happy to be on the northern side of the mountains again. One night, towards the end of this week, as you're now moving from the farmland into these ascending foothills, the terrain becoming a bit more rugged. You can see the mountains out in the distance, getting closer. The sky has darkened with clouds long before the sun set. A drizzle of rain, not enough to be truly miserable, but enough to make travel a little uncomfortable. And the roiling black sky causes darkness to fall much sooner. But luckily, you see a strange ruin up on a nearby slope. A trail of campfire smoke rises up from it. An orange glow very faintly visible within, seeming that there's someone camping within this old fortress, whatever it once served in some bygone age. You don't have to go there. You could camp somewhere else. There are plenty of places you could grab camp, but you see it nonetheless. What do you do?
What do you suppose the people who sleep in there turn into at night? Were boars, maybe?
Perhaps something with wings.
That would be convenient. Elias, go take a nap.
I think Elias just shoots like a look. We can go outside inside if you want to. I'm not gonna take a nap.
Oh, there might be some books or some other esoterica in there. Why not?
So, yeah, why not?
You approach the old fortification. It becomes increasingly apparent as you get even closer that it is deeply unlikely you will find books or esoterica in this ruin. But nonetheless, by the time you're stepping into it, it's become full dark. You can hear the crackle from the campfire within. You smell the smoke. And within the ring of firelight that sits at the center of this ruin, there is a lone figure, face cloaked in shadow, though the silhouette does suggest armor, a sword in its scabbard resting off to the side, whittling away at a branch the figure is. And as you approach, they glance up, and the haggard features, the beard, almost brings to mind the idea of a hermit or someone who is just living out here on their own for a sizable amount of time. But the armor they wear is cared for. It is knightly, even not glistening and shining, but this unusual knight is just whistling softly, whittling at this branch as the three of you approach. Doesn't say anything at first. Definitely glances up and is aware of your arrival, but doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything.
Hello, friend. We are hoping to share your shelter for a small amount of time if it's not too forward.
The knight looks up properly, and in the firelight that illuminates the other side of his face, you see an eye patch. But it's not the same man. There's that spike that runs through you at the sight of it, but it is not him. It would be a significant age difference between them in so short a time, but there is that spike of fear, or I don't know, gestures just around the space as if to say that you are welcome to make do wherever you please.
Our thanks. My friend here is very tired and needs a nap.
Alia will pass you and like jostle you in the ribs, but he will like sit down and he is actually pretty tired because he still doesn't like traveling.
Esteval will, step into the space and let down Monsieur Navarre. Let him do a little cursory explore, see if there's any juicy rats that might need ratted.
I think curiously, Mr. Navarre does not go off into the shadows. First goes to this knight's legs, does the cat bob and weave, hops up next to him, kind of like looking the knight over, and the knight just stops whittling, glances at the cat with his good eye, reaches up, just runs a hand down Monsieur Navarre's back. Seems to like that. But then Monsieur Navarre dips off into the distance.
If we are going to be like pitching up here, I think Esteban would like to pull out just his tools and maybe mortar and pestle and see if he can craft together one of these salves while we sit and talk and hang out. If I have an hour,
I think that'd be fine. You can roll your check with your advantage because you trained for it.
Sure.
While Esteval is doing that, Elias is very tired, getting ready to bed down. The unusual knight looks at you, Torben, with his good eye, kind of sets down what he was whittling. In the gloom, it looks kind of just like a shapeless mass of wood. You can't actually see what shape it's taking. Just sets off to the side, looks at you, kind of like leans forward, his eye scanning you up and down, just in the way that people usually do to take in that you're a big man and probably an adept fighter. And he says something to you. Do you speak German?
I don't know. Knowing Danish and French, I wonder if there might be like a bit of inference he could do to
I was
get
about to
kind of
say,
abroad.
there's a pause. It's Germanic language. There's a pause. He tips his head the other way. He says something in Swedish. And there's enough overlap between Danish and Swedish where you can kind of understand roughly where he's effectively asking, like, what do you speak? Hilariously enough.
He will answer in Danish.
Mm. He responds in French. I never got the hang of Danish.
It's an ugly language. I
Or
adore
an uglier people.
it. Unfortunately, I break the mold with my beauty.
He chuckles. And then after a long pause, out of nowhere, he just says, what belongs to you alone, but is used more often by others?
My strength.
That is good. But no. I'm sure yes, but not the answer I'm looking for.
And what is the answer you're looking for, friend?
Oh, you don't like riddles?
Unfortunately, my strengths lie in the martial, less the mental.
Hmm. I find it is quite nice to exercise every aspect of one's being. Surely you perform your duties with strength. You seem to be a man who's trained long and hard. You have developed your technique through great pain, exertion, sweat, and blood, as your people are known for.
Indeed.
Why then shirk the mind?
Only so many hours in the day.
We have time here now, do we not?
It would seem.
I'll try another. He thinks for a moment. What is greater than God, more evil than the devil? Poor people have it, the rich don't need it, and if you eat it, you die.
Nothing.
He smiles. More than just strength, then.
Lucky guess.
One more?
You are seeking to strain me. Go ahead.
I won't hold back. It will be more difficult. Once upon a time, there was a fool of a farmer. Family, he had none, no stable boys either. So he talked to his animals instead. And, good man that he was, whenever he made a coin or two, he shared it with them according to his own rules. Every hen in the coop was paid 5, every bee in the hive 15, and the spider in the loft bagged a full 20. And now you tell me, how much did the cat get?
Torben's going to tug at his beard and kind of look subtly over at Elia, wondering if he's been paying attention.
Alia's got nothing. I was like, why are you looking at me? Look at Esteban.
Esteban's busy.
I think Alia just shrugs in a little bit of a dismissive way. Like, I think he thinks this is annoying and silly. So he's just like,
Well, I assume that the cat got well fed and taken care of by his more tolerant owner.
stranger bats a hand at you and just says, "No, not even points for effort. But one of three is not a complete failure."
That is what I strive for.
Strive to be better.
Noted.
He goes back to whittling. And Esteval, what did you get in your roll?
I got a 20, but I need 21. So I think I'm going to spend a faith point for a reroll.
Okay. And then you get advantage on it, right? Because of your new ability.
Because it's only history, religion, or travel.
Oh, I thought the craft was null. My bad. Well, then go ahead and just reroll craft.
Now that said, I mean, if it's a reroll and I had advantage on the original roll, do I get advantage on the reroll?
Did you have advantage on the original roll?
Because I trained for it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, you to reroll.
So it's +7. Keeps your highest. So same thing, 20. Man,
bummer. I mean, yeah, nothing new, nothing significant enough. But when you rejoin the camp, all the strange conversation has subsided, and you can bed down. And the following morning, the unusual knight is not there. Packed up and left early, perhaps before anyone woke. But the only sign of his passage was the little whittled branch just kind of left amidst the stonework of the old fort. He carved a bear.
Torben, I think, looks at this bear carving and then goes, 10.
Did you Google the result?
I did, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Just pull the scenes back. That the answer is because he pays them per leg. So if you do the math, yeah. Good job, Torben.
I knew the first one. I could have helped you with the first one without Googling.
Incredible. And before we set off into the mountains proper, were there any scenes any of you wish to do with yourselves or one another?
Should I log the bear carving in my equipment?
If you'd like to. All right, then. Sounds like we're good to move on.
Yeah, I don't have anything in particular. I think Elia's just been a bit quiet since the priest reveal.
Sure.
And he's just been like, not like compulsively in like a creepy way or anything, but just like checking like the grail. And he's just like sort of, it's more a habit than like a compulsion or anything. He just like kind of keeps touching it from time to time. And I assume kind of keeps feeling that comfortable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also like still doubting it a little bit. But I think that's mostly him. He's just been like a little quiet and introspective.
Sure.
And tired. He hates trouble.
Indeed. What we're going to do is switch to an explore test. Now, you do still have a few days of food remaining based on the travel test because it wasn't a full week. So, but once you're in the mountains, you might need to begin hunting for more food, just to keep that in mind. So, just because it's been a minute, I need to refresh my mind. We talked a little bit of this at the top of the session off recording, but I'm making some slight adjustments to the exploration rules. So, for now, who would be taking point on this, because you're moving into mountainous terrain where you are sort of like walking hikes and valleys, significantly rougher environment to work with. So whoever wants to take point on sort of like leading the charge here, you can argue for whatever attribute you're going to add to this. Intellect is, normally the default for the explore test, but if someone has a good idea, you're welcome to share it. For the mountains, I'm going to say that the difficulty is challenging, because these are not the like height of the mountains you get as you go further east along the border, but they are still difficult, like a region to move through, especially as it's getting colder and rainier.
I mean, I could see Esteval taking point on Intellect Explorer. I think that's our best die
Sure.
pool without like stretching. So it's +5. Yes. What'd you say it was? Difficulty?
Difficulty of 18.
Oh, that's a miss. It's 15.
Okay. 15. First things first. Need to roll a die. This is a new thing. Okay. Your first foray into the mountains is quite strenuous. And early on in the voyage, you did not accommodate well for this terrain. You will have now run out of food as this day of traveling. You run through your provisions quite quickly that you had left. Now, when it comes to food, just because this is a reminder, you can hunt or you can scavenge, and hunting is the skill with either quickness or intellect, and feeding the entire group can take a while most of the day, because like half an hour in a successful test, you feed yourself. Like you have enough food for the day for you. So, and I'll consider, criticals and certain numbers like as to be relevant to that. You can either keep traveling and hunt later in the evening, or you can stop today to hunt now and just halt progress on your journey.
I'm fine halting and hunting.
Yeah, I think Elia would probably suggest doing it now, because the higher we're going to get, the fewer animals there's probably going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Then in that case, anyone can do hunting is easy. You just have to find something and kill it. If you want to try scavenging for food, that's another thing we can talk about, like based on like what you can find in the terrain. But hunting is either the skill plus intellect or quickness. And I will adjudicate the difficulty here in a moment, but I wanted to see who is hunting versus who is scavenging. Or
My
you all
hunting skill
hunting.
is real good. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's of the skills and attributes that have been floated,
For sure.
Esteval is the best at that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's worth it, though, where it's like everyone should be doing something so you can all feed yourselves. But if there's any extra good things amongst you, then that's an added benefit. So
What would scavenging be? Would that be awareness?
I would say no, that's still hunting. Just because hunting
Okay.
also gathers
Yeah,
like
yeah,
gathering food and like edible plants. This is mostly just like for the fictional positioning of, because it's going to be more difficult to find like scavenge food than it is to hunt in the mountains. Whereas if you were scavenging food in the fields, it would have been easier there.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
the same number. It just depends on your approach, and that'll be the attribute for it.
Okay.
Elia just eats the weirdest mushrooms, just thinking God wants me to have these mushrooms.
Exactly. Faith, I just pick something up, I just pop it in my mouth. Jesus, take the wheel, baby.
I will tell you this right now, Elias. If you did a faith hunting, I will of course allow it. However, the difficulty will be higher because that's risky as fuck.
You know what? I'm gonna do it because that's funny.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna say that is a very difficult task. So it's a 24.
Fine, you go ahead
Um,
and say that. There's
yeah,
literally no way I can make that then. No,
unless
there
you,
is.
yeah, as I was saying, unless do something specially or so. That's the approach you take. It'll be 24 because it's
I mean,
very difficult.
I can't assist that roll, can I? If I'm going to be making my own hunting
You're gonna
roll.
be doing your own hunting. Yeah, you can. This is Elias
Uh,
like trying to fuck around and find out if that's what Elias does. Jazzy could just be a stinker right now and be baiting the hook.
I'm gonna do it though.
Okay, cool.
that grin.
Mm-hmm. We'll come back to you then. What about Torvin?
Sure.
I assume hunting animals. Yeah.
Yeah, after, of course, reaching over, petting Mr. Novell and saying, "Well, cat, the day has finally arrived."
Incredible. I think Monsieur Novell is like just looks at you in that cat way, just apathetically, almost like half-lidded, like don't you fucking try me today, man.
Oh, he knows the threat's empty.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, the cat knows the threat's empty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For hunting, depending on your approach here, it will influence the difficulty. So it is the hunting skill, but what attribute would you argue Torben would apply here?
I mean, if it's between quickness and intellect, it's going to be quickness, but
Mm-hmm.
he is probably more suited to might. If there's something he can just crash himself down upon,
I
wrestle to the
would
ground.
I would say that if you did the might approach, your difficulty would be challenging, so an 18. Just because, hey, wrestling an animal to death and crushing it is a little bit more difficult than being faster than it out here in the wilderness. And Esteval, what about you?
Either quickness or intellect. Probably
Mm,
intellect.
mm.
To actually know the hunting, because hunting is a lot of like you sit in one area and you wait. You just have to pick the right area.
Sure. And I would say that, you're Portuguese and, you have ostensibly at least seen parts of the Iberian Peninsula. So even if you're not in your home turf, as it were, um, you're getting increasingly closer to like environs that might be more familiar to you than the forests of countryside France. Yours is going to be a trivial effort, so difficulty 12.
Hunting,
Everyone can roll.
so it's plus
So if I
6.
go with quickness instead of might,
I'll say
it's
that requires effort. Yeah, so 15.
I'll do that.
I got a 16 on the dice, plus
Okay.
5, but I'm gonna spend one fate point to add my fate attribute to get to a 24.
Holy shit. So you
You
actually did
can't
it.
stop me.
Holy
Yeah, I
shit.
did it.
I was so prepared over
did it.
here being like, cool. So Elias is going to get fucking poisoned. Like he's going to be ill. It's going to be bad. And over here, you're just like
You
walking
want
the
him
path.
to get, if you want him to hallucinate, even on this success, I'm fully here for it.
No, you straight up find useful food, like just
Straight
in
up,
in the
Jesus
wild.
take the wheel.
You just find useful herbs and berries and stuff like that. Like it's like nothing hardy up in these mountains, like in terms of just like walking and talking. But like I think like even I got to reward this a little bit. I do think that like you might even just find like straight up a fresh kill, nothing that's rotting, just maybe an animal that got killed
The
by a predator and the predator got scared
provenance.
off, or maybe the animal just fell out of a tree and died. I don't know. Point being, you just providence exactly.
Providence. The Lord is watching over us.
Yeah, eating probably makes you thirsty, right?
It
Anyway,
might, if only we had something to drink out of.
if only. Torben, what did you get?
A 19.
Very good. And Isabel?
13.
Oh, 13. Very good. You are literally able to feed yourselves for the night. No criticals, unfortunately, but make camp after a day of hunting. And so well, roughly in a half-hour effort for each of you. What I will say now is you've guaranteed that you can feed yourselves. if you want to try and supplement your food stores, we can talk about that. Or it'll be like a hunting on a day by day basis. It'll just because if you start killing game, it's not going to keep very long. So it's like you don't really have a lot of travel rations. So I would say in this terrain that might not be the most advisable thing, but you have the option to like maybe like stock up on something if you chose to pursue it. Otherwise, you can just camp down for the day and resume your travels tomorrow. Right. Finding a good location to camp in the mountains. I will once more call for an explore test. Someone can take point on this if they so desire. Doesn't always have to be you, Esteval, but I know that it's just because you have the best skill.
I have the skill, and more dice means more crits, and
I
more
know,
crits
it's
means
true.
more XP.
It's
So
true.
I'll fight for it. Why not?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Intellect, intellect explorer. Yeah, let's do.
If you desire intellect, yeah. I will say before you roll, that the difficulty was going to be 15 on this one.
Okay. Unless anybody else, any of you want to argue for it instead?
You have the better shot.
Okay. Yeah, 2d10 plus 5. Sure. Oh, that's not hunting. Just 15, and that is a crit.
Oh,
They're
incredible.
fives.
Incredible. Very good. Go ahead and take your advancement point. Not only do you find a good place to make camp, a deep cave, old and worn, up here on the ridgeline, it does offer quite a good view of the terrain ahead, and you will continue through. You have enough to like kind of like track a path where you can move through the mountains quite efficiently. You won't need to make as many. You don't need to make as many explore tests here. You have a good like lay of the land on this critical, and I will also be giving advantage on roles in this train that also includes hunting, just because you have you have a good view of what to expect here. You camp, you move on, and because of that success, I'm allowing you all to continue through the wilderness successfully until another relevant point. So the hunting roles now for your or to have food is not a day by day basis. That we're going to use these as representative of the time covered with ease. You still need to find the food, but this is not going to be like okay, I hunt for today, I hunt for tomorrow, I hunt for, we're just going to do it as a single check. So each of you will roll with your chosen approach, and I'll negotiate the difficulty, but you will have advantage on the dice. Esteval, what about you? Same thing as before?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Intellect, hunting. He sets out some bait.
Still trivial with advantage. What about Elias?
I'll behave. I'll hunt like a normal person.
Which involves?
Which involves copying Esteval.
Incredible. I will say that it requires effort for you because you don't have Esteval's mind.
You little bitch.
Yes. You're
this is getting rude.
You have advantage though, so yep. And Torben, same approach for you?
Yes.
All right, same deal. I'm going to say that yours requires effort as well. So with advantage, roll your dice.
17.
Also 17.
Incredible.
I got 16 on the dice plus 4, 20. Is that enough?
Yeah. Yours difficulty was 15, so yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
And it's a crit.
Oh,
it's
hey,
a crit.
There you go.
Yeah, it is a crit.
Point. There you go. Right on.
There you go. That was Jesus telling you to not be rude to me.
Okay, calm down.
It was Jesus telling you not to rely on faith.
Yes, it was. Oh no.
Yeah, battle with that one for a bit. Incredible. Just sort of in broad, we'll cover a couple of days here in the mountains. Since you're covering the territory here, everyone can just sort of like collectively paint the scene and contribute to some narration of just what the travel through this region looks like, whether it's a particular character moment or just any sort of like natural vista you want to establish, anything of that nature. Be my guest. Throw it out there.
I think we see that, especially like that one time that we got like the really beautiful view or like the good view, but I assume it's also quite pretty. I think Elia would have like after they had their food would have like just sort of sat down on the ridge or whatever, giving him that view and just like looked out with sort of, like when you do a hike and you finally get to the point that you wanted to, like sort of that like happy expression of like, yeah, this is quite beautiful and peaceful. And I think like that is sort of repeated like throughout the day. I think when they're actively traveling, I think Elia just kind of, again, like a little bit more quiet, a little bit more introspective. But as the journey progresses, I think he gets like more and more like not over it, but like back to what we're used to Elia, a little bit more talkative. He probably gets like a little bit better at hunting. Maybe there's like some conversation between him and Esteval about like some tips and tricks, like what he can do. Probably comes up that like Elia is used to hunting being on a horse while, like the dogs are fetching whatever the servant, like, whatever is happening. Like, not this, not just sitting quiet and not being dirty and like very much that nobleman's hunting. Um, and then I think every night again, he'll touch the grail. He'll hold it like for a moment close. Just constantly checking it's still there. But I think as the journey progresses, he gets like more and more lively again as he sort of starts settling and getting over the shock of what happened to that priest.
I think for Esteval, we actually see him like near just a little stream of water, and he might have even found like a little perch. Sets out uses his cloak as a mat to just kind of like sit down on. Monsieur Neville curls up for a cat nap, and uh, we just see him sit and wait. We might even get a little sort of like time lapse of the sun moving way too fast across the sky. Um, as a very brooding and pensive Esteval just sort of watches and waits until here comes either a deer or something that needs water, and Esteval takes up his crossbow.
Torben's hunting in general is, I think, a little more blunt than Estevao. It's a matter of waiting, and then as soon as something crosses just close enough, he bursts from the bush or whatever he was hiding from and tackles it to the ground. But I think in between, uh, as they travel, I think he's probably made some jokes about the werewolf and has noted the way that Elia has seemed to respond to that. And I think he's starting to maybe get the idea that there's something not being said. So a
Mm.
few, glances from the corner of his eye as Elia maybe excuses himself after Torben said something a little
Yeah, Elia
unclassy.
would not react well. It would be very much like extremely strained smile, excuses, like not meeting your eyes, like all of that.
Mm. And I made a roll here. Unfortunately, as you get through the mountains, this region becomes dangerous, which means you do not get the benefits of a downtime here. There is a malaise that hangs in the air you find a village sort of coming out of the mountains. You've crossed them by and large. You're still up in the, not quite reaching the foothills and the higher parts. There's this old village up here, thoroughly abandoned. It looks like it has been for some time, not recent, and utterly sterile, picked over, weathered by, rain, not even animals hanging around here. But there is this unsettling sense to it of something wrong. And so on edge, you take shifts, ensure that you're not come upon by bandits or anything of that nature. And the night passes. And the following day, as you're descending from the mountains into the foothills once again, there is again this atmosphere. The weather has been unpleasant, but not a hindrance these past few days, crossing the mountains, and now you've reached Navarre. Out here in the wilderness, you know that the city of Pamplona is probably a day or two away if you went that direction, but there are also myriad villages out here, smaller towns, on your continued quest to reach Lisbon. But you can't shake this feeling of something wrong, something unpleasant. You think back to what those merchants, those travelers at the crossroads north of the mountains had mentioned, of just something feeling wrong out here. And we're going to take a little break here. When we come back, we'll talk about what happens next. So general traveling malaise aside, as you're coming down from the mountains into the foothills, up ahead, you spot a camp. Now, I'd like you all to contribute to painting the scene here, because it is apparent that this is a bandit camp. And how can you tell from a distance?
It's obviously being put together quickly and made to be broken down quickly should they need to flee any kind of authority.
I think sort of carried by the wind are very lewd songs that are like sort of typical for like people of that inkling to sing, and Elia will immediately make a face because how dare.
They're also singing in Spanish, so yeah, so good to know.
Never mind that.
He feels it in his bones.
Yes.
Esteval will
Yeah.
will translate.
Then Torben will laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be something about like the insignia. Either they're not flying colors, or alternatively, in that sort of pirate fashion, they're flying too many. There's a Spanish coat of arms, an English something or other. They're just cobbled together in piecemeal from different origins, in a way that doesn't suggest cooperation between these militaries.
One thing I will add, the songs that they are, singing, the body tunes that they crank out, the ones that made Torben laugh just by knowing of their contents, anyone actually listening to the music itself, and Esteval, even though you can understand the lyrics, just even Torben, if like listen to what was going on from that camp, like there is no fun in it. it is clearly being done almost as if to like cover up like miserable, attitudes or anger or resentment. There's no mirth in that singing. It's just a way to exist. Now you've spotted this camp from where you've come down the hill. It is very apparent between the three of you that they are situated in such a way as to have a good view of travelers coming up through this region. So the fact that you're coming down from the mountains is the only reason why you're not on these bandits' radar. But they've occupied this region, the foothills that you're coming down. You've spotted their camp. What would the three of you like to do?
You're going to
Oh, go ahead.
you're going to make us do something about this, aren't you? Say to Elia.
You're bandits.
Are they currently banditing?
No, but I'm sure if we wait a moment, perhaps they will be.
Perhaps they're reformed bandits just seeking peaceful lives in the wilderness.
Well, they clearly haven't found God if they sing songs like that.
I sing songs like that.
That's different.
Esteva.
I suppose giving them a wide berth is not an option with this company.
It's a funny way of saying Elia.
Fine, let's give them a wide berth. Let's leave other people to be robbed and stolen from if that's the only thing they do. What is it to us? What does it matter to us? We didn't see it. And if we don't see it, then it doesn't happen.
There was about 3 seconds there where I was actually seriously considering if you had been changed out by a changeling in the middle of the night.
It is worth noting, and obviously this is less of a concern for someone like Torben, but it's worth noting that to some degree, I'm not trying to be too heavy-handed with this, you do risk breaking an oath by choosing to circumvent this. I'm not saying it's a full-on huge sin, but this is like one of those things where it's like, okay, as Templars, you would know, we're supposed to deal with bandits, but like
that's the whole point why the order is made.
Yeah, so I'm like, again, interpret this how you will. I just want to remind you, everyone would be aware.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
you're making
Elia
a decision,
is definitely.
You're like, we're choosing not to do our duties. But again, you might have a different perspective in a fractured state that the Templar Order may be.
So we don't know that they're actively bandits.
You can only assume, exactly.
So we send Elia forward. I'll cover from the tree line. When we discover that they're bandits, then we do our job.
How would that be convincing, Torben? When they rob from me, would you come save me?
Why don't we just skip to the part where I kill them?
But they're not banditing, Torben.
Yes.
We
fine.
don't have to draw our swords first, but they... Do we just walk in and say hello? I mean, we did that with the other night, but we outnumbered him.
You spot about 12 bandits in the camp, I'd say.
Any of them look particularly strong or notable?
They look like ramshackle bandits. Some of them might have military background, but again, you don't see anything noteworthy among them. Just piecemeal and desperate.
Well,
do we smell food?
You smell the distant remains of a poor attempt at a meal, burnt and unpleasant. Probably draws to mind if Torben had any such experiences of like trying to like oh, we boiled shoe leather to eat, like that kind of thing where it's like food in the not great sense. No.
That likely means this will be easy. Perhaps even a mercy.
Exactly.
What's the plan?
Esteval will put a bolt in the crossbow and crank it back just so it's ready to go. Well, let's do this.
What do you do?
I think Elia will start approaching.
As you approach the camp, what is your bearing? Do you have a hand on your weapon, or are you just walking it openly?
Like, how petty is Elia? Will he like give them a chance to rob him so Torben can see that he was right? You know what? Yes, he would. He is that petty. I think he will just like walk up, seemingly nonchalant. I think like Esteban and Torben can probably tell that he is like ready to attack. But yeah, let's give them the opening. Let's them show what they are.
Any Templar regalia visible on you, Elias?
I'm afraid we're back to that. Yes.
What is it? Your tabard?
I think it's like the tunic again.
Oh,
That
yeah,
like
yeah.
in the village it was under the chainmail. I think we're back to
It's full
like
out.
hidden under the cloak, but you
Oh,
can
you can still see
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you approach the camp, you get up, towards it when they notice you, and some of them get up from the logs that you're using around the fire, like shouting out to the others that someone's approaching. They have like their bows, weapons drawn, like they're calling out to you in Spanish. But as you approach, you see like a couple of them are like marching forward, like arrows drawn, like they pull like blades free. They have the expression of like these are like angry, bitter, resentful people, but they're almost like smugly amused by like, man, you just walked into the wrong fucking camp. Like they're almost like, oh, good, an easy mark.
Mhm.
But
And
then
Elia is equally smug.
the eyes fall on your tunic and the Templar symbol. Their eyes go wide with complete recognition and fury, and they shout at one another. Immediately the atmosphere changes, where there is like it is replaced by like there's still open hostility, but there's like an underlying fear, like weapons drawn, like bows now pointed at you, like a couple like blades at the ready. They're kind of like prepared low. They're looking around like they're scared and respond back in English. Actually, not probably not English, probably in French, I would actually imagine. And like, it's very like choppy French. Like this is the French of someone who is on a border territory and can roughly speak the language because of
Mhm.
trade. But it's not a native speaker. And curiously, you catch the word, even in a different language, you can understand what the fucking word Templar is amongst like Spanish, French, and all these other surrounding languages. But a couple of them do look to you, and they're just like, "Come back to finish the job." And like they know you, and they're yelling like to arms, and so you can hear them speaking. You understand what they're actually saying, but they're like clearly like mounting of like, oh fuck, we got to kill him right now, and like hostile
Mhm.
tensions out. They're advancing on you. No one's like let loose yet, but they do address you directly, Elias, by being like, come to finish the job. What is your reaction here?
I think that surprises Elia because he had just expected to be robbed. Like, sure, maybe they recognize a Templar, but come back to finish the job. I think that actually like kind of not like quite stops him in his tracks because obviously like he is now reaching for his weapon too. Like he's not stupid. He knows what's about to happen. But I think he will ask um who came before.
Okay, this is one of the situations where it's like talking not going to work, or at least like that's the perspective, right? So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to try and get conversation out of them, I'm going to call for a test here. um
Sure.
what skills and attribute are you trying to employ? Courage, I imagine.
Courage, yeah. Um I would say persuade, where I could basically be like, give them that opening to like answer the question because Elias still wants to kill them. Like he's not gonna
Sure.
let them go. It's basically, can I convince them that an answer is going to like give them a moment longer, or like can we like keep the tensions down for that answer and then go to fighting? I
Sure.
imagine is the situation.
Sure. This will be difficult. You need a 21 or higher.
That is fair enough.
Otherwise, it's going to come to they're going to attack
Immediate.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. No, that is a 7 on the dice, and even with an 8, that is not enough.
Okay. So you try to speak, but you're quickly cut off by the familiar thum of a bowstring being released and then the whipping of an arrow past your head. Kind of get that like battle sense of just like, now I'm being, my life is being threatened and they're rushing forward. They didn't even hear what you just said. They're reacting fully.
That's okay.
Like, we need to kill you.
Yeah, I'll just keep one of them alive. I'll shout that to Esteval and Torben. Keep one of them alive.
The bandits are fast, so they do get to do. They're a mob. They get they typically mobs only react, but because they're fast, they get to take one action before combat actually starts. However, Esteval, you're lying in wait, and you have some abilities here as well. So let's talk about what triggers with you, because you have some stuff here. You have opening volley, and I think we previously said like your opening volley. I'll let you trigger that first before initiative is determined, because my read with fast is that like they go before initiative is drawn each round. They get a free action thing, but yours is before we even determine an initiative, you get to go. So you can do your opening volley if you so desire.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So 2d6 plus 8. Anything else? That is not hunting. 15.
Has one shy of what you needed, unfortunately. So you begin like letting loose bolts from your crossbow from whatever position you had like hunkered down in, and now the shouts are coming from the bandits, realizing that there's more of them, that they're up in position up there, and because you roll a miss against a mob, this also means that they get to act against you. Now, just narratively, we're going to kind of like zoom out of this a little bit, and it's not like the immediate like bam bam of combat. This is more of like we zoom out of the scene and it stretches on a little bit in a fluid direction. So like we have the group splitting off to like rush the hills, where you and Torben were like hunkered down as you begin letting shots come down, while the rest are now rushing Elias. So I'm going to give they get a default attack attempt against you, Esteval, because you missed against them. And I'm going to get their fast attack against Elias here at the camp. So like just panic and chaos. The bandits take to the just scattered around, and combat begins to unfold here. This will be the one first against you. What is your current defense again?
Who is you?
Esteval, sorry.
20.
All right, that's 16. So they do not come against you. We'll narrate that in a second. And meanwhile, back down at the camp, they're going to attack Elias. Elias, that is a 21 to hit you. They do get
that
you.
That hits. Yeah,
right,
16 would have hit me.
Got you. Let me roll their damage. Yikes, 14 damage to you. So to your stamina. So let's, before we get
reduced
initiative,
by 7.
Yes, because of your armor. Yeah. So 7 stamina damage. The bandits will rush you first, even though we resolved that in a different order. The bandits, you're closest. They rush you and narrate a little bit of that scene for us of you getting kind of in the thick of it with some who are attacking you directly.
That's for Elia?
For Elias, yeah, sorry.
Also a 7 meets my crippling blow, but I believe it's higher.
It's
That
higher.
would make me. Okay, yeah.
I'll check that right now, but I'm pretty sure it's higher.
Yeah, it's more damage then. So
Yeah,
I
more than
think
your crippling
that,
blow. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't mark a condition for that.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think it is sort of that like he like kind of got caught off guard by that sentence. And even though like, instinct, he still gets his sword out, but I think it's just a matter of like literally being mobbed. Like there's just too many of them. Like he gets like in that desperation, because I imagine that they're like maybe coming at him with a desperation and a fierceness that he hadn't quite expected. And he's just like a little bit on the back foot here. So I think we see him like, shield is like blocking one blow, his sword is like going out, and then like just somebody gets like under his arm, and there's just like I think he like manages to pull away, so it's just like a slight cut or like a bruise. It's not like nothing too bad, but we see him stumble back a little bit and like try to get ready for the next round.
Meanwhile, the other contingents are splitting up and running up to attack Esteval and Torben from where they're camped out, where the bolts are going from. Of course, they do not succeed. So Esteval, you can narrate a little bit of the scene as well, and then we're going to go to your actions because this is not initiative. This is a mob. You guys go, and then they only react on misses.
I think for Esteval, it's a range trade. Rather than them running up, because there's a giant wall of meat that is Torben that is going to be probably charging into
This is
the
actually
fray.
extremely a great point. That makes more sense.
So yeah, I think it's whoever the archers are just going to start. Yeah, and it's Esteval has some of these rocks or trees to hide behind, and it's a country western shootout, but in
Yep.
1100s wilderness of Spain.
It's 1307. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. It makes significant more sense for them to be firing bows up at the hill at you. That makes that's so arrows flying, clanking off against rocks, being stuck in the dirt. Elias engage in melee combat. Let's go ahead and just have Torben act first, since you two already did things reactively, and it's complete free flow initiative otherwise. So just Torben gets to go, and then either one of you, assuming that Torben doesn't automatically kill everyone. So Torben, what do you do?
I think he's going to, charge in with his sword and shield. No real finesse here. Just he's a wall of meat with a sword.
I love it. Just as you're charging in, just whip, thunk, when an arrow like lands in your shield, and as you're charging down towards them, and you can see like the archers being like to back up, like fuck, we're not hitting him. He's getting closer. You come barreling into the camp. You're attacking.
I am attacking, yes.
Go ahead and roll.
So that's with advantage for my long sword.
Long sword, yes.
Yeah, little Sean Connery there.
Long sword. Hit him where it hurts.
15.
15 is just not enough. So like the you come like barreling in, they're laying down like covering fire, and so they get a reactive attack against you right away. Go ahead and roll this.
Distracted because they attacked Elia.
Yeah. That is a 26 against you.
That'll do it.
Yeah. This is a total of 7 damage, and then your reduction, which is
8.
Oh yeah, so it's just down to nothing. So it's like, again, like shield up, like you're taking arrows. It was only one of your attacks. I assume you're doing more.
Yes, I will.
Go for it.
Do it again. That's a 20.
Okay, that does hit. So now you can roll your damage.
And my damage is now +9, 1d12.
There's a non-zero chance you could just finish them all off right now.
Only an 11.
Which is okay. You know how Elias said keep one of them alive? They had 12 amongst them, and no armor. So you take out everyone except for one. As Torben comes rushing down to Elias's aid, narrate the ensuing massacre.
However
you want to handle it, yeah.
That's the perfect word for it. It is just he looks down at that arrow sticking out of his shield and just and then it's just a flurry of longsword and limbs and blood. And Torben looking happier than he has in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the chaos unfolds. And when all is said and done, there is one bandit left standing. I'll leave it to you. Is he injured or uninjured? Did you from the ensuing combat? This could have been from any of you. I'll let you decide fictionally if he has like a wound or if he's completely untouched.
I think his sword is still in his hand. Unfortunately, his arm is not on his body.
Oh, youch. Yeah, okay. Very bad state. He is like screaming out in pain, like clutching like the stump of where like your blade cut off his arm, like slumped up against like a boulder at the camp, just lacing every in between, just breaths, just lacing his everything with just cusses and swears and calling you a variety of things in his native tongue. You hear bastardo a lot. And just he's bleeding out. Like this is a severe injury, but he doesn't have the fight in him. He's clearly like, fuck, I don't want to do this, man. Slumped up against the rock. Elias, your allies have come to your aid. There is one survivor as you requested, though he's not looking great.
Yeah, I think Elia just walks over, places his sword against his throat and says, "Tell me in French. Tell me who came before, and I'll send you to our merciful God."
The wonderful thing about such pain is that it really does limit the mind's ability to speak in anything but the native tongue. So he responds in Spanish. Thankfully, Esteval can translate for you. He's just like, he's saying he's like, fuck you, you Templar dog, just
I
clutching
slap him in the face.
just slap him. He just goes, what, it wasn't enough that you already killed the rest of us. You had to come back and finish us off. We left your land, we left you alone. What more did you want?
Who came before? I put my hand in the stump and push really hard.
Like screams out, and he just yells like, Templars. He's just being like, he's getting very pale. He's starting to get dizzy eyed. He's losing focus. He's just mumbling, and he's just saying, "It was you chased us. You came for the castle. Chased us from town, and followed us like dogs."
I think Elia once more slaps him really hard, says, "The cross, red or black?"
Red. Templars, red.
May God have mercy on your soul.
Wait.
I wait.
Torben's going to grab his sword and put it in his remaining hand. Now.
And then I'll slit his throat.
Blood comes out. Dude slumps forward.
I look at my hand that I used to torture with him and basically make an ew blood face, and I'll smear it on his shirt and step up.
What castle?
No idea. What Templars?
Maybe a different chapter. France was just the home base. There were others.
And that means there might be allies nearby.
That's what I was thinking.
Or someone who raided an empty base.
Either
Our
way,
equipment's good.
we have a direction forward.
Torden's
Uh,
going to try and take a peek at what might be in this camp.
I was
Yeah,
thinking the same thing.
totally. Give me a second here. Yeah, these are very clearly destitute and impoverished even for bandits. They did not have much in the way of supplies. Though, that said, give me a second here. Where'd it go? They do have some like simple weapons amongst themselves, although um one of them did seem to nick an English longbow at some point in in the recent history, especially because I mean, given territory towards the bordering of English owned France. Um, Now this is something that is significantly easier to reload than a crossbow and has exceptional range. There's a unique benefit to English longbow specifically, which is that when combat starts, someone with an English longbow may make an immediate attack before actions begin or initiative is determined. Um, and otherwise, it has the stats of a crossbow. And someone with the opening volley ability gets to make two shots with instead of just the one. So it's a very versatile weapon for Esteval to have. Two immediate attacks. And you find a quiver of arrows. We'll say that like 24 arrows, I think, is plenty.
Trying to imagine how Esteval would react upon seeing an English longbow. Like, is it a spiritual experience for him?
Yeah,
Finally, he's having one.
it's like the one like
Finally.
good thing amongst the camp here, right? Like it's strung with like flax string, very like strong, like wood. It's not like a mastercraft work of art, but man, does this thing like
Yeah.
the pull of the bowstring like sings to your ears, man.
Why didn't they use that against us?
They did, and they missed.
Oh,
Esteval could very clearly point out to you, being like, "That's the one that they were shooting at us with. That's the
Yeah.
one that went into your shield and actually penetrated it."
Yeah. I think Esteval well, I think he recognizes the quality of this longbow. Even if nothing else, because the crossbow yeah, it's useful, but a lot of times it's because the existing bows just didn't have the draw weight. I don't remember what exactly it was that made English longbows particularly strong, but this is yeah, Esteval is looks like he found some treasure, like smog treasure. Um, this will come useful, I think.
The bandits also, just worth noting, have some like basic provisional stuff around them. They like the best thing you probably find here that's actually worthwhile to you is some like flint and steel. So you get advantage when starting fires when using it. So someone can claim that as a it's an insignificant it's actually a significant item, so it counts against the overall bulk. Same with the longbow. Well, those bandits were dealt with quite swiftly. Let's talk about what you all want to do now and like what your chosen course of action is. Because all things considered, you're in Navarre now, and ultimately southwest to Lisbon is the goal, but you're at the border of the mountains. You have whatever, clearly you're thinking something about Templars and all that. You're probably a day or more's walk from any significant town, but there's probably small villages in the area. What would you all like to do? Macro and micro of like soon and more kind of like broad.
Macro's got to be like find this castle, find the Templars that these bandits are referring to. Um, so slightly more micro. all the only lead we have to go on is like there was a castle, correct?
Yeah, because of the severe blood loss from this guy from the lost arm, he only got out a few words before he started getting delirious. So something about a castle and being like chased out from nearby lands.
Then I feel like whatever the nearest civilization to here is probably, probably a good place to start looking.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I also acknowledge that going into civilization means possibly putting ourselves at risk. Uh, are, we're in English held lands though, right?
No, you're in the Kingdom of Navarre now. You are officially south of English-owned lands. You are in Spanish territory.
So we have to phrase our questions very well. The Knights Templar aren't like in a military, we're effectively a mercenary unit, right? We're not we don't have allegiance to a specific nation, correct?
Yeah, basically, like they
Okay.
are, and actually here I'll give you specifics about the Templars' relationship with Spain. Um, just because it's been a minute. Europe. Yeah, so basically, right now, as I mentioned before, Spain, or rather the Iberian Peninsula, is a series of small nations that are constantly at war with each other.
Ooh.
Castile, Navarre, Aragon, Grenada, and the Muslim Moorish nations in the south are in regular conflict with the Christian kingdoms of the north. Most of the Christian Iberian territories at this time are friendly to the Templars. So it's you got that going for you.
Okay. Then yeah, how does going to a nearby village sound and seeing if we can ask around for ruined castles and see if anybody has seen any Templars in the area.
I'm into it.
Yeah. I think Elia too, like really wants to find his Templar and is like very intrigued by the idea of a Templar doing their job, apparently, by killing these bandits. How novel an
How novel
idea.
and crazy, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think on a micro level, like in this moment, for like all his like, oh, we have to treat the priest with dignity, he does not give a shit about the bodies of these bandits. Like he's not like actively like being disrespectful, but he's like absolutely doesn't even care. Like does not look back, does not do anything to give them more dignity. He's just like, I bandits come, they're dead, let's go.
And for no reason at all, just because of the fight here, I'm going to increase your pursuit points by one.
I think
How rude.
I think when Esteval actually like picks up the bow and like knocks an arrow to it and just like gives it like a test pull, I think what he quietly says, but Elia has to be close enough to hear it, at least maybe Torben, one of the two of them, just like, I bet Annalise would really like this.
I think Elia just like gives you a look, not necessarily judging. He says, well, maybe when it's all done, you can show her. When she becomes a woman of God.
Oh. She's probably going to uh, have found someone, get married, raise kids, that's the way of things
That is a
outside of.
good, honest life for her.
Absolutely. I wish her the best. Although I'm certain God's army could use a woman like her.
He would have been proud to have her.
Esteval just like shoots an arrow into like a wood surface just to get a test fire off.
God, it feels good. The weapon basically sings like a guitar string, just boom.
Amazing.
Let's go ahead and get an explore test on the table. You're intending to find a nearby village or just settlement of some sort to begin getting your bearings. Will Esteval be leading the charge here?
Unless somebody else wants to argue for it.
I'll say that this is just given the sparsity of the region, it requires a little bit of effort. So just 15.
Okay, I think that might be like a 50% chance or something. Intellect plus explore, yeah, +5. So
You're still in this like semi-mountainous foothills region, so
not great. Nope, that's a 13.
13. One second. Where'd it go? The town you come across, the village, small settlement, remind you much of the one abandoned you found in the mountains a few days ago. This one's not abandoned, but there's a similar sense. But I'll sort of zoom out and reveal what's going on here, and then we'll sort of explore what this means in the narrative. There is a contingent of knights here who have arrived before you bearing the Black Cross tunics, having come down to this region. You don't know their exact connection and what they know, but point being, they are here. The Teutonics have caught up with you in Navarre, or at least there is a contingent of them in this border territory, and they're here tonight. And you even see them from afar, perhaps. I'm withholding my ability to spend pursuit points to have an immediate confrontation take place, but I am signaling to you now that that is the consequences. The village you find has Teutonics in it, seemingly passing through, hunkering down, who's to say?
Is this a situation that we can sort of, maybe not this village, but just keep moving on? Or is this a more go in and be quiet about it now?
It depends on your approach. You could choose to fuck off. That would carry its own risks, certainly. You would need to succeed at a relevant test. But if you wanted to hunker down here, that would be its own thing. Depends on what you do.
What are your thoughts?
It does seem quite interesting that, according to the bandits, there are Templars in the region, and now also the Teutonics have shown up. Are those events connected, or is it just on your heels? Who can say? If only you could learn more about what the Teutonics are doing here.
They spotted us yet. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Change your tunic. Now.
Fine.
I will say it's also clear, just to kind of give a little bit more context to the scene, they don't have like dominion of the village or anything. They have like, they're doing the Elias thing. They have their cloaks on and like minding their own business.
Oh, they have their cloaks on and okay, then no, sorry, Ellie, I cannot change.
So it's like they're here, but they're clearly, yeah.
No. Yeah, no. I think Elia just shakes his head and says, it's not necessary.
What if we had Torben and Elia camp outside? Elia sneakily, with that +3 stealth, goes down and does a little reconnaissance and sees if he can sort of either direct a conversation, but goes, right into the lion's den and sees if he can get some info out of them more quietly and sneakily.
In terms of camping in the region, like in the outskirts, that is totally fine. It just means it's not safe. So therefore, like you will you don't get the benefits of the downtime. So that camping is a non-concern in this circumstance. But sure, I mean, if that's certainly an idea. You could, if that's what Elias is interested in doing, about sneaking in, getting some info. Up to you.
If Elias is not going to take off his colors, then we can't have Elias go into the village. So I also don't think
Or
it's
Esteval, yeah.
Mhm.
well,
If there is another knight here, if there are other Templars here, then perhaps they're not as hostile as you will think they are. I will not hide out of fear for these false Templars.
you want to dance right up to the door of the Knights Teutonic and just ask them for help in finding some Templars?
No, but I don't wish to hide from them.
I don't think they're going to be too happy to see us. What if they were here looking for these same Templars that these bandits went and dealt with? Or
Well, clearly they are not hiding their tunics either. He saw the cross. He knew they were Templars.
King Philip didn't order the entire destruction of their order. They have no reason to hide. We're not incognito because we're ashamed of who we are. We're incognito because we're enemies of political forces in the area.
A fine justification. It ends the same way.
It is rather amusing how much like a target this cross can be. Why don't we just add a "I'm carrying the Holy Grail" to yours, Elia? If
I
you
am
desire to give up on subtlety altogether, go all the way.
not about subtlety. There is so little left.
And there'd be fewer if they are not trustworthy, if they are hunting us.
We could always see if they want to share a drink. From the cup, of course.
They're not touching it.
What kind of structure are they camping in, by the way?
A local watering hole. They are, they're like camping outside of town, like in the immediate environment, but they're like lurking around. And oh well, actually, I'll say that if you would certainly, are you gonna try to watch them from afar to learn about what they're doing, or are you just learning about where they're stationed up?
Uh, both, but we have an English longbow and a
Yeah,
fire starting gear, and
sure. Yeah, they have a camp that they've set up, sort of like amidst the town, just simple, kind of like tents in a cook fire. Um, but there is like a tavern that they've kind of dipped in and out of, that you've seen from afar.
I will defer to your expertise in these matters.
What are you thinking, Elia?
I think he's quiet for a moment. Says, fine, fine. I'll hide like a coward. And I think like kind of like in front of all of you, like angrily, like starts pulling off the chainmail, so he can like change the order of things.
To be clear, I don't think I'm thinking Esteval wants to do a solo scout. So
Mm.
Elia and Torben can stay back, which means Elia can keep his nice, pretty Templar clothes on.
I mean, he'd still be wearing white out in the hills.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's fair. Um, that, but Esteval can, either go and just sneak and eavesdrop under the cover of night, or more social stealth, pretend to not be a to pretend to be anything but a Templar and try and actually have a conversation and steer a conversation with them. But uh yeah, I'm just looking at my
Elia's probably better at the
at the social
social
stealth.
stealth. Yeah.
Yeah. But if Elia wants to keep his pretty
No,
little
I think he's being petty and is like in front of you both, like very angrily and pettily, like petulantly stripping off and changing his tunic to be like under the mail
I mean,
so
here's
you
the thing
can't
though,
see it.
is we still need then a cover story of who we are and why we are this heavily armed.
Mhm.
Although if the region is constantly in war, we could just be unaffiliated mercenaries, swords for hire. So maybe that's the story is we're a bunch of wandering swords for hire, and yeah, we've heard rumors of Templar activity in the area. Is that the way
Would
we want to
we
go?
would we care about Templar activity in the area as Swords for Hire?
Guess if there's bounties on Templars, but there wouldn't
Is
be
there here?
here. Yeah.
Not in Navarre.
So we're just mercenaries.
We could be part of that bandit camp.
Also, we don't have to ask them, the Teutonics, about Knights Templar unless the subject comes up, but we might be able to talk to some of the other locals and see what they've heard. We just need to occupy the same space as them for a little while. Starting to get the sense of a plan here. The basic outline of one.
Do we have any money?
Do you have nothing
Probably,
left?
probably a scattering of coins amidst yourselves.
Actually,
Oh,
I mean, not money, but could I go looking for spy network stuff?
oh, interesting. This is a border community. That'd be very interesting. I didn't necessarily prep there being one in this region, or rather in this specific village, but I'm into the idea.
If there are Templars in somewhere in this nearby area, there might possibly be some spy stuff to go on.
I like that idea a lot.
I still think the main idea is we hide our colors and present ourselves as unaffiliated swords for hire.
What I'll say, just to kind of like solidify this, this is a thing you will find out when you're actually in the village, because like a villager will use a greeting that you clock as being like, that's one of the code like, wait, hold on, that's a code. Wait a second, there are spies here. And this is actually most spy networks, depending on the area, don't require you to do any of those roles. We did it in Royan because it was an expansive network that was under occupation of the enemy forces.
Oh,
But here it's like, oh, if you can clock it, it's a small enough town, you can find it right away. So yeah, fuck it, there'll be a spy network here. I think that's great.
fantastic. Yeah, maybe, because the Templars have long been associated with like Freemasons. Maybe it's another carpentry or
Yeah, like
something.
rosettes carved in door frames and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Then I think like as we're moseying into town, oh, do I want to let slip? Well, I mean, I guess Esteval and Torben already kind of know that Esteval has this kind of connections going on. Yeah, Esteval will direct us over to whatever this place of business is that might be covering some spies and see if we can make some contact.
Okay, I'm into it. Here's what I'll say. I just wanted to kind of like just zoom out of the scene. Um, that since it's like a small community, there are enemies here, but it sounds like generally your approach is like you're steering clear of them and more so aligning yourself with the network in town. So therefore, I don't think there's any necessarily need for like tests of maneuvering. If there was like occupied forces here, that'd be one thing. But short of actually like directly engaging with the Teutonics, this is a pretty simple thing of like you can go into this community and like as long as you're not visibly someone of interest to the Teutonics, then you'll at least not need to do anything here at the start. If that sounds like what your plan is.
I think so. Yeah, I think unless Elia or Torben want to go rogue and go spy on them specifically, I think the plan is now to avoid them. Just give them wide berth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is very straight up, very simple. This is a spy network that you can make contact with. The three benefits apply, right? With the fictional understanding that it's a smaller network, you can get information, supplies, or call upon them for the use of a safe house, which I think that safe house service it's possible, but it's on the table, but understand that doubles your exposure and burns the network. As a reminder, it is anything you ask the network, it's a pursuit point each, and then there's a chance of burning the network, and the supplies is a pursuit point to get a vital piece of equipment, a necessary item, or an additional downtime action. Because this is a dangerous locale, because of the presence of Teutonics, you do not get the normal downtime action. This would be the means for everyone to get a free downtime action if you pursued that. So you're currently sitting at 4 pursuit points. So keep that in mind.
So we basically get 1, and then if we take a second action, it would spark an immediate confrontation. How does it sound then to you two if we get some information on where these local Templars, where this castle might be located? That was our kind of big goal, wasn't it?
That seems useful.
I guess then let me rephrase it this way. Do either of the other actions, i.e. a piece of important gear or a downtime action, nobody here particularly needs downtime at the moment, right? Definitely not in a dangerous area anyways. Let's go for information.
Okay. What is the question you want to
know? Where are there might be a better way to frame it, but the gist of the question is, where are these Templars and ruined castle?
Sure. You don't need to necessarily give me a specific question on this. I can give you information on that front, since I understand your intent. But first, I increase the pursuit points, and I got to roll D8. And I did not roll lower than the current number of pursuit points. I rolled a 6. So if that had rolled lower, it would have burned the network. So good job. To answer this, go us. Yeah, your fortune is smiling at you. Where did my note about this go? So indeed, it does seem like the bandits' words are actually quite true. And there is a fellow group of Templars who have come to this region and have holed up in an old castle nearby. It's in this region, and this is all tracking with what the bandit was saying, that they have come to this area and that they are present in the region. There is another spy network. It's an old castle with a town nearby it. And that town itself has its own spy network that this network is occasionally in communication with. But it's like, there's some Templars and their servants have been in this region, fellow allies, members of your order similarly on the run.
Thank them for the help, and I think we're going to move in that direction then. There's no reason to stick around. There's no reason to lean on the network more than we need to. And there's Teutonics here. We're unless we are being forced to camp, then we're moving on.
No. I think, I mean, if you did camp, you can camp far enough removed from town where it's not a problem. You have to kind of stay on edge. Unless there's anything Torben or Elias wanted to do otherwise here. Okay. How are y'all handling your food?
Guess we have to hunt.
Everyone make some rolls just to see if you can eat tonight. Uniformly,
hunting.
the difficulty for everyone will just be, it requires effort to do so. So it's 15 for everyone.
I'm going to call in my advantage from my training at the beginning.
Very nice.
Jeez, barely 15. Dice roller, help me.
No food for Elia tonight.
I got 22. Or, no, wait. Yeah, 22. Can I share?
Yeah. You can't share. However, and you don't need to worry about starvation until you've gone without for 3 days. So, like, you can choose to I mean, if Torben wants to give his food to Elias instead, that's fine. But otherwise, one of you will not be eating tonight.
Elia will not accept it. He's being very proudful.
He would share it and get very grumpy if Elia didn't accept it. It would be a whole like, well, then I guess nobody's eating. It'll go to waste.
Anytime you go without food, just make a note somewhere that you have gone a day without food. And once you hit 4, that's when negative benefits will start happening. Your vitality is reduced by 1 for every day you've not eaten after 3. So
sure. I guess mechanically I'll note it, but I think, it'll be like a bit of a prideful fight, but I think if Torben plays it like that, then Elia will, like, eventually eat and,
which
like,
is
mutter
hilarious
a thank you.
for Elias specifically, because if you're and for Esteval, because if your stat hits 0, you die.
Yep.
So it's like
he's a very fragile little twink.
You go 4 days without food. Somehow Esteval and Elias fucking expire. Yeah.
He's out. It's done. That is so fast, by the way. Like,
It's
4
so
days
fast.
without food game. You can last 4 days without food, please.
Not Elias. Elias
Not
will die.
Elias. He's a sweet little boy.
I will probably. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we'll worry about that later if that ever comes and that ever happens.
But yeah,
Cool.
he will say thank you to Torben. Begrudgingly.
Let's take a quick 5. I'm going to ask for a travel test, not explore, because you have enough information to work with for like the landmarks and the local area and the pathways to reach this this castle. You're going to be making this travel test, I assume Esteval.
Sure, let's go.
Go ahead and roll.
Yeah, using intellect, so we have +5. Do we have a difficulty?
Yes, I'm going to say that this is trivial. It's 12.
Okay. 8.
Come on, man. Incredible. Now, it's worth noting that the travel test is simply for the provisions of it. Roll a d6 for me.
D6, 1d6. Got it. 5.
So you will run out of food in 2 days. So keep that in mind. But that's how much you are able to allocate as you're journeying. You still reach your destination. That just determines food. Um, the old castle is nearby in the region, and that's air quotes around nearby because with the loose directions you have, you begin to follow that way. You will reach it within a couple days. Thankfully, you have enough food to last for that. But as you are traveling, that malaise you felt upon entering the region is more present. And you would pass by other small settlements in the area as you get ever closer. You begin to hear unsettling rumors of abductions, strange sounds at night, like wailing. The people in the town nearest the castle behaving bizarrely. And even the time of the year reaching sort of that rotting period, even with that, season in mind, like crops have begun to fail. Some herds are struggling. This region has an aura of something unpleasant to it. You can't actually put your finger on. What are each of you thinking about, or how do you feel that as you get closer to this bastion of allies, these portents become more and more grim?
I think Torben's trying to kind of write this off as he's hungry. He hasn't eaten. That's all this is. Because anything else is just they don't need it. They don't need grim portents and nasty omens. He's just hungry.
I think for Estevo, there's a sort of morbid curiosity. After the werewolf, and well, I guess that is the sort of dark supernatural thing that they've experienced so far. But it seems that we were living a rather sheltered and cloistered lifestyle in France, and actual dark villainy, true Lord of the Flies type evil, uh, is maybe making him believe more in supernatural things like God.
I think for Elia, he kind of keeps like ping-ponging between these are Templars, so something evil might be following them, but like that's why God sent us because we're gonna defeat it. Like sort of that like almost compulsive, like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But then I think also a growing like resentment almost like stronger than annoyance, but this like bone deep wariness of everything that keeps going wrong, that keeps following them, and with that weight of that priest still like bearing down on him, that he could have saved him, but he didn't. There's almost like it feels like it's a test. It feels like God is testing him again, like we're gonna do this again, and this time he has to get it right because this is judgment. This is done to like throw it in his face that he didn't get it right. And I think there's like that like edginess, like that resentment that's kind of quietly brewing as we get closer.
After a couple days, you approach the town. Nearby, which is a rocky hill where a small keep stands, encircled by an old wall. And as you're approaching the town, you see that the fields lie fallow. The people, the commoners here, are quiet and eye you with something akin to fear as you arrive. But the nature of that fear and the source of these rumors, we'll find out next time. Let's go to Stars and Wishes, everyone.
I'll go. I'll start off. This was a fun session. I liked the little. Yeah, this was full of interludes, and it was cool to see us crossing a large amount of territory and get ourselves into trouble that we can handle. That's a nice change. Aw. Yeah, it was great to see Elia being a badass and kind of rattle Torben a little bit with the I'm gonna torture this disarmed man. Um, Esteval being the competent, calm one and just going dipping into that spy network. It's great that this group has Esteval really, because otherwise it would be over. Star for again just the scene setting and the environment scene painting. Alex, you made it feel like we're really crossing a large different territory, and it was cool. I'm looking forward to seeing why this castle is so spooky. Probably not vampires.
Okay, but what if it was vampires?
What if it was
Um,
sexy vampires?
gee. We could let them drink from the cup and then just see what happens, for fun.
What if they drink from Elia first and then he drinks from the cup?
What if it was
Would
the other
that
way?
de-vampire him?
What if it was the other way around? Because if you drink, then they drink the blood, and it's like there's holy water from the Grail and the blood. Could be very interesting. In any case, stars. Yeah, I really liked the Lord of the Rings travelogue vibes of this session. Um, Very fun. Just sort of like montages, aerial drone shots of them, crossing mountains and landscapes. Um, Also starred just seeing Torben go hulking war machine in his natural habitat. Um, that was really fun. Um, the loot always very cool. I had kind of been I knew about the longbow and it's like extra little stat, and I was like, well, it's a shame we're not going to England, but no, sure, I'll absolutely take an English longbow and get it into Esteval's hands and just go full Legolas. Why not? Um, and yeah, seeding whatever is going on at this haunted Templar ruined castle is uh was just great. I love how it's not really distractions, but it is like, yeah, we're going on these fun little side quests and like exploring the world on top of our main mission to go hike to Lisbon. So yeah, I mean, my star is obviously going to be like finding out what is being super creepy in this area. Love a good fallow field. Always love a good fallow field. Um, so yeah. Um, oh, also star slash wish to that one-eyed knight. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure it's Odin, but there were also no ravens whispering into his ear, so I might be wrong there. But yeah, he was a cool character. I'm kind of curious to see more about him, and yeah, I think that's what I got.
Yeah, stars. Also starring the travel. That was fun and a good way to like after a little break, like get us back into it. I love Esteva's little pining moment. That was funny. Like that was nice. He's pining more than Elia is. And I didn't say it then, but I think Elia had a little bit of a realization that he hasn't really thought about florins in months and went like, huh, interesting. Don't know what to do with that. We're not gonna unpack it. Um, for Ben, yeah, I love Torben being a little bit disturbed at Elia and being like, whoa, that's a lot. I thought that was pretty interesting. Always love it when they bicker. Always think it's very interesting. Um, and I thought the scene of him like sharing his food was very, very Torben, peak Torben, peak the whole relationship between Elia and Torben. I thought that was very interesting. Um, Alex, yeah, I like the One Night Night. That was very interesting. I love the spooky castle. I always love a spooky castle. It's always just the best set piece ever. Can't wait to explore that. Wish. I wonder if we get to explore more of Elia, like showing that dark side when it's people that he doesn't feel he has to be pious to, because I think that he very much feels like, oh, a priest is someone you care for. Bandits are people you kill, you know? So I think that is interesting, maybe heading into what we are heading, if like that side is going to come out more and how Esteban and Torben are going to react to that. Because I think Elia's not doing super great, and might be reacting a little bit strongly to some things. Wish I gotta find a reason to drink from the cup, but it's gotta be cool. I want to do it, guys, but it's gotta be cool. Yeah, and mostly just very interested in seeing what the hell is in this castle.
I love how you don't even know what's gonna happen if you drink from it. You're just like, I'm waiting for a moment.
Yeah,
Uh,
I feel like it's the holy grail. Like it has to be. I can't just be like, anyway, bottoms up. Like it's gotta be important.
mhm. Yeah, no, I agree with everyone else. The stars that have been mentioned. I loved what you all brought to the little narrative sequences and asking you for. Yeah, hi, are we yelling? Sorry, Winona's acting up back here. Um, no, so that was it's fun little bits of narrative. A couple of things I wanted to star. When killing the bandit, Torben be like, wait, putting the sword in his hand. Okay, now you can kill him. Like, yeah, that was great. Also love the little Esteval crush pining for Annalise, and was like, oh, I think Annalise would like it. That was cute as hell. And also I just like the continued shade of the Templar tunic of Torben being like, funny that it sort of looks like a target. We should just give you one that says, I have the Holy Grail. There is a great amount of sass from our favorite Dane. Yeah, just very fun. I'm mostly just looking forward to actually getting into the town proper, because this is segueing into another adventure, a little side quest interlude. And yeah, I think it's gonna put some new things into the mix. I'm intrigued to see how it plays out. Because this might be like a hook into some other aspects of the campaign that we haven't gotten to explore so much of yet. And then on like a broader, like just talking about the system, like, related wishes, I'm like, I have some ideas for how I want to like homebrew and tweak things, particularly around like travel rules, and then I'm like wanting to put into play here. But largely I'm just like, fuck it, yeah, cool, we're doing it, man. You're getting closer to Lisbon. This reminds me, I need to research more about everything between here and Lisbon, to find out, like, once I know kind of like what paths the group ends up going on, I need to prep some actual stuff here for the peninsula, because who knows, you might walk into a war. I need to do some reading. Anyway, yeah. Any other stars or wishes from anyone? Cool. Then I will end the recording.